And today, what we're going to do is we're going to actually, I was thinking about this morning. We're gonna wrap up this part of John because we actually are about to hit the Easter story, and I sort of want to save that until Easter comes along, and we can actually do a little series on Lent, which we will be doing. So stay tuned for that. So today, what I wanted to talk about, is how again do we really take a look at this idea about celebration and how celebration works. And the challenge on the other side of that is when we can fall in love with our estrangement. That's kind of uh, a really difficult one to talk about, but I think super, super important. So it comes to the end of this part of the story, Lazarus, which we talked about a lot over the past few weeks. The Pharisees, the clergy at the time, are all up in arms. Like, look at what a challenge this is. But of course, the people know far better. So you have this group of clergy who's all worried, all concerned, fretting all over it, rubbing their hands together. How's all this supposed to work? And then on the flip side of it, what you have is you have this other group of just regular people, and these regular people are like, hey, this is great. The highly educated people are not so excited, and I guess I had my hand motion the wrong way. The highly educated people not so excited. The uneducated sort of peasantry super excited, which is kind of interesting right there. We could do a whole sermon on that, but that's where we pick up the story here. The next day, a great multitude that had come to the feast, when they heard Jesus was coming to Jerusalem, took branches of palm trees and went out to meet him and cried out, Hosanna, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, the King of Israel. So this is a beautiful part here, folks. And again, when we think of it and we kind of think of that clerical side that is unable to celebrate, and this other side that's very, very able to celebrate, and the incredible power of that, right? Now, this group here, this clerical group, uh, I think in our minds, like that can be that part of us that just is sort of prone to cynicism and actually falls in love with our own estrangement. Falls in love with our own estrangement. Now, what does that mean? Well, I imagine most of us, maybe, I don't know. I can certainly speak for myself, but I imagine most of us have had that experience of sort of hanging on the outside of some particular social event. And we hang on the outside of that because the fact is we are trolling to have someone come over to us and to tell, I don't know, somebody sort of join us in our misery, to sort of join us in our disenchantment from the group. uh oh boy, that's so human to do that, and it's just not, it's not a great way to live. I think we all would agree with that. Yet we do have a human propensity for that. And what we come to do, and when we sort of hold on that outside, is we tend to come to trust in what's false. We trust in what's not true. We trust in, I don't know, like it's I don't really know what's the underlying motivation to that. I know that I definitely experience it that times sometimes in myself. I definitely experience that sometimes working with other people. But where we fall in love with kind of our disengagement from things, and that becomes sort of our racket, our way of explaining the world, and our way of explaining how the world works and why other people do what they do. Obviously, there's not a lot of spiritual stuff that's going to happen there. Instead, looking at this idea of celebration, and where do we find that space to simply celebrate, that space to really celebrate life? It's so interesting, right? Like in our lives with celebration, as one person said, you look at the events over the year, and there's these few moments where we really are good at celebration, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, et cetera, et cetera, birthdays. And those are great, and those are important to sort of pour ourselves into. And I think it's really important to pour ourselves into a little bit of celebration every day, to just find a little bit of celebration. Now, some days, admittedly, that is going to take a lot of work. There will be nothing easy about it. There'll be nothing simple about it. It will be extremely challenging. and sometimes we have to dig to find that little bit to celebrate. And again, I'm sure there's certainly been days in my life. There are days where that celebration just is way far beyond us. But trying to find that seems like an important antidote to this whole idea of falling in love with our disenchantment and falling in love with these stars that set. So folks, as we get moving forward here, just think for a minute about that. Like for you today, and again, I know people tune in here, some people having great days, some people in the midst of really hard times. What is worthy of celebration today? And in a way, it's easy to think of it the biggest thing possible. I'm alive, I'm breathing. That's terrific, right? And maybe today find a little space as well, just for what's the smallest little thing you can celebrate. That you can go like, oh wow, isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? And no matter what, just do the best you can to push away from any forms of disenchantment, from this clerical mindset that needless to say got the clergy of that time nowhere, because literally it's nowhere. And really just it just doesn't serve people. It won't serve you, it won't serve the rest of the world either. So folks, that's my thought for the day. Hopefully that makes a lot of sense to you. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do our little blessing, a little prayer, a little meditation, and then a last word. Again, those of you who are joining us for the first time, you are more than welcome to shoot us a note on New Church Live's Facebook page, which I'll be reading off of my phone here in a minute. And and we'll say hello to people. So with that, friends, let's do a little meditation here. So get a little breath. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and bring you peace, bring you home. Amen. All right, dear friends. Again, if you would like to leave a comment on New Church Live's Facebook page, I will be looking that up. And just a second here. And someone too also also mentioned sent something yesterday about service opportunities, and we do have a lot locally. And at the same time, always game for helping people, supporting them in different service opportunities they might like some support with, either local or not. Again, we have people all over the country. So obviously, the local thing does not work for everybody. But if that works for you, we sure as heck would be glad to take a look at it. All right, folks. Lots of comments here today. Kim, listen, no problem. No problem. Kim writes, and sorry about face at end was supposed to be another. Kim, look, we all make these typos, right? And they're just kind of funny. And I think the nice part about the era that we live in is that everybody expects them. Lindy, good morning to you, my dear friend. Hopefully you're doing well. Patricia, great to see you joining us this morning. Patty, joining us down in Maryland. Patty, I hope you're doing really well. And sorry, our season is over already. What can I say? Oh, Martha, the 10 minutes every morning is definitely worthy of celebration. And, I agree with you. It's just been such a sheer, absolute joy. And anytime it doesn't happen or I just get too rushed, it always feels like I'm missing out on something important. Linda writes, services for my daughter's grandmother today, celebrating her today and thanking God for the time I had with her. That's beautiful. Deep gratitude. Connection is worth celebrating. Mary, that's really good. Connection is worth celebrating. On these days, I cannot muster up celebrating. Others show up. And on those days, I am lifted. I can share with those who are not. One big circle. Boy, that is beautiful, Mary. Connection is worth celebrating. There's a takeaway for today. Marcus, good morning to you, buddy. Great to see you this morning. Carl writes, how to celebrate. One way that touches my heart is when someone calls out of the blue to say hi. Yeah, isn't that fun? I've been thinking about yesterday that happened to me. A teacher from high school called me. We hadn't spoken for years. Something I can do, something we can all do. Who will we call today? That's a big one. Carl, I had Carol and Chuck reach out a couple of days ago, and they were one of the first couples who I ever did their wedding. 13 years ago, right when I really right at the very beginning of our wedding ministry. Actually predates right at the very beginning of New Church Live, right before we launched New Church Live, actually. And it was so fun to just reconnect with them. And part of me is a little mortified, thinking like, oh my goodness, 13 years ago, I was so, I don't know, so off the beaten track, but tried. And anyhow, but it was great connecting with them, and I think we're going to try to have dinner, which is fun. Patty writes, celebrating my, oh, that's beautiful, Patty. Celebrating my cat Chloe is at my feet every morning when I'm waiting for me to love her and feed her breakfast. I'm not alone. Yeah. I totally agree that we had never had animals in our house until relatively recently, till like 6 or 7 years ago. And now it's just so nice knowing we always got a dog around somewhere. All right, friends. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me this morning. What a little blessing you are. What a blessing I can celebrate being able to just share a little 10 minutes with you every morning. Take care, folks. God bless. Bye-bye.